All right. So let me, quickly make introductions to our two hosts for today, who very graciously accepted to be here amongst us. And Vinay is basically someone who's had maybe 15 plus years experience in corporate, worked in various, MNCs and startups before he started his own venture, which was the Predictive Strategy Group. So great to have him here. And industrial engineer from Thapar University, Patiala, MBA from SIMB in Pune, and of course, a certified PI behavioral trainer. And like I said, one of the smartest people I know. So very, very honored to have him here amongst us. And Eva, who's also happens to be his wife and co-founder in the TPSG group, and brings, of course, an entire science of human behavior and all of that for better productivity and to reduce attrition, which I think is so important today. How can we get the best out of our teams? How can we bring down attrition? And all these things are, extremely, extremely important. And looking forward today to this session. So with that said, guys, it's over to you. And Eva and Vinay, thank you so much, for being here today. And the session's all yours. And let me just give you sharing rights as well.
Sure.
Right. So now you have sharing rights as well. So you can actually go ahead and share your screen.
Great.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes.
It is.
Okay, thanks Gaurav for such a nice and crisp introduction. I felt good about myself hearing that. So thanks again for giving this opportunity to share our views on this subject that both Eva and me are in love of. Before I really start, I'll just like to have a understanding by, I don't know if everyone is there as a show of hands or in chat, that how many of you have undergone psychometric assessments? How many of you would have taken one of such assessment in your career at any point of time? You want to shout out, even that's good enough.
It's on the chat, so we're actually all putting them on the chat. So Pooja said yes, I said yes. Mr. Anupam Bhasin has of course said yes. Mr. Rajesh Pandey said never. Vanta said me. Payal said yes. So you've got a lot of yeses coming in.
Okay.
And Puneet Agarwal said yes as well. And I know Dr. Gupta joined us. I know you two have both been in touch with Dr. Gupta. I think he just joined
Yes.
us as well. He's probably he's never done
No.
it before, so it's a no from his perspective. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Great. So, great. So, the idea today, the agenda is, that we will not be going deep into the science of psychometric per se, right? We will be trying to understand from a layman's perspective, from the perspective of we working in, in the corporate sector or having our own businesses, running our own venture, that what does it mean for us? In terms of understanding our own selves and in terms of understanding the people that we're working with, and what is that we get to gain out of it, right? And since Gaurav has already introduced us, we have been in this field for last about 7 years. And, between me and Eva, we would have done a couple of lakhs of assessments now, in India. And, as we go ahead, we'll tell a little more about ourselves. I love, if we can have this as a open discussion conversation, right? Because I've kept the flow very light so that we can have a conversation around it rather than it being a one-way street. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes, sure, Vinay, we would like that.
Love it. Thank you. Okay, so why don't we start with the poll itself? Who's manning the poll?
Yeah, there you go. So the poll is on and it says, do you believe you fully understand your own behaviors and working styles? So your options are yes, no, or maybe. So just, choose the one that most applies. And interesting. So you have a lot of different opinions coming in. And I'll give it another 5 more seconds. And I think we should have probably everyone's results in, and then I'll actually close and publish the results. Right. Lovely. So I think we've got pretty much everyone in, and I will end the poll and I'll share the results. All right, there you go.
Wow, that's pretty enlightening, enlightened crowd, I guess. 38% says yes, and 50% say no. 13% are either yes or no. Great. Okay. So this is a good place to start off with, and start a journey for people who already know themselves. You would be able to revalidate it, the science behind it, and we'll share some interesting perspective on this, as we go ahead, linked to this poll, right? Okay, let me push ahead. Great. This is me. Anyway, we have been, sharing our thoughts. We have been writing in various, newspapers, ET, the Hindu and TOI. Our thoughts on this have been covered in the last 6 to 7 years, on multiple platforms. These are some of the, the experiences that I'm going to share, and Eva is going to share today is based on our work that we have done extensively with, a lot of firms, especially in India, and also what we have derived from, our global counterparts, across the world, working on this technology. So first of all, we'll like to understand that what is personality, right? Or there are multiple names given to it. Sometimes you'll hear personality, sometimes you'll hear behavioral traits. So there could be, in layman terms, there could be multiple names that we call it by. So if anyone would like to share their view, what do they understand by behaviors of people or their own behaviors?
So Vinay, when you respond to certain situations, when you react to certain situations, when you're conditioned in a certain way, when you're letting go, you have certain belief systems, when you train yourself to let go of the negative beliefs, all of that as a package, when you recognize that, sometimes when you need counseling.
Okay. So what is a personality of a person? Let's put it that way. Anyone else?
Puneet's actually put in fabric in the chat as well. So he says like the fabric of a person.
Okay. Great term, fabric of a person. Very nice. I guess Vandita would especially like it, the fabric part. So
Thank you.
our personality or the behavioral traits that we talk about are in very basic understanding. Think of these are the reactions that we are conditioned to give because of various factors, be it heredity, be it genetics, be it the learning and the environment and the conditioning that happen during our initial years, right? Or the environment that we grew up, the learnings that we had. So everything cumulative, and these are the automatic reactions that happen to the stimuluses that we keep getting in the world, right? So how we react to something, like when we are driving a car, it's naturally got imbibed in us. We don't no more think that we have to press the brake or an accelerator or or the clutch. It happens automatically. When we swim, it happens automatically. So that is how the personality is defined, right? So to remember what personality is, think of it as a thumbprint. It's a thumbprint which is not going to change. Why I'm comparing with thumbprint? Because thumbprints don't change. This is not something that keeps changing, right? If we have become an engineer now, our thumbprint is not going to change. Right? If we have now doing a job in an MNC, our thumbprint is not going to change, right? We have started wearing expensive brands, then the thumbprint is not going to change. So similarly, our personality does not change. So that's a very fundamental aspect that we all have to keep into consideration, and especially after our formative years. So till we are from the age of 0 to 18, things still keep on changing. They are still in flux. We are still learning. There's a part that we inherit in terms of genes, but after that, it does not. Right? So I want you to always keep this in mind as we go ahead. Now, what the various facets to personality, right? The personality is it's not a unidimensional thing that we are talking there about. So personality is also, there's a chunk of personality that we can see, we all can observe. Like you're observing mine, you will see me talking. When you interact with your people in your office, you'll see their knowledge, you'll see their experience, you'll see their skills. You'll see what they are showing you. right? So that's a visible part. But like the cliched iceberg, I know this iceberg is used with enormous amount of things, but it's, then also it does not lose its relevance. That's a tip of the iceberg. There's a huge part of it which we cannot see, neither in ourselves nor in others, right? We cannot even see it in ourselves because it's in a subconscious mind. Now, that's where, which is actually driving the whole thing. That's where the personality is actually lying. That's where if you think if someone of your IT, the macros are there, the operating system, is out there. So things that are there is which is leading us to the observable behaviors. So observable behaviors is another form of personality. Now, what we see in a person, as I was saying, we see the education, when you're employing someone, when you're working with someone, you're seeing the education, knowledge, skills, experience. Generally, you get a resume of a person. Yeah, okay. Oh, you're from IIT. Okay. So you worked for 10 years. Great. This is what I need. Yes. And then we go ahead with it. Right. But when we hire someone, we also end up firing people, right? At the end of the day. Now, the resumes don't change. The resume still show that he's from IIT XYZ college. He came when he had 10 years of experience. Now maybe he has 12 years of experience. 2 years he spent with you, but still you fire. So you don't end up firing people for what was there in briefcase, right? And briefcase is such that it keeps changing. Right? Today you don't know X language, tomorrow you can know that language. Today you are a graduate, tomorrow you can be postgraduate. You come to Gaurav Bhagat and you get additional skills, great skills to be able to make effective sales. Yeah, that's all acquirable. That's what we can do. But there's something which cannot change, and that cannot change is residing in a head part. So that's what we are calling the thumbprint, okay, which is not going to change after our formative years. These are the behavioral drives and the cognitive ability of a person. Now, why there could be many. We are focusing on these two because this is most important from perspective of work environment, right? So these are the things which are not going to change. Behavioral drives basically tells us what are the natural gifts and talents. What is the natural working style of a person? How would they like to delegate? How would we like to delegate work? How would we like to interact with people? So for example, when you meet someone, you'll see some people are quiet, right? They're reserved. Some people are chatterboxes. The moment you've met them, they'll tell everything what is happening in their life, even if you don't want to know. Right? So there are different kinds of people. Some people just enjoy sitting in front of a laptop, not being disturbed, and being there 8 hours in front of it. Some people say, no, they're like hummingbirds, going from one flower to another, one desk to another, even in office, moving around, chatting, and that's how they work. So these are all behavioral personality traits that we are talking about. Then cognitive is about how someone can learn new things, how quickly someone can learn new things. So this is all for the sake of, again, understanding, think it of as thumbprint, not going to change over your life. What you were at 20 years, you will remain similar even at 60, 65, 80, 100, 120, till whatever age the science takes us to. So this collectively gives you the performance at the workplace. This collectively is giving you the performance. That's why you'll see it's not that you go to a college, even like IITs or IIMs, the companies don't go and just pick up, okay, give me 10. Unlike Apple's, right? Or give me 5 students. Because they have gone through the same college, they have gone through the same entrance exam, they have got similar grades, so that means they are going to be same. Then you would not have any need to do an interview. But there is some difference out there, right? There is something fundamental different below the iceberg. That's what you're looking for. That's why we need to interact with people. So, and now the below the iceberg, the genetic part, it's something which we cannot see, right? You can see me, but you cannot see my bone structure. For seeing my bone structure, you need special equipments like X-ray or MRI to understand that what is happening inside me, right? Psychometric is such a tool to understand what is happening in the subconscious mind. Unfortunately, the X-rays cannot detect that. MRIs cannot detect that, right? That how the algorithm works in our subconscious mind. So for this, scientists have made psychometric assessment, and there is 150 years, 200 years of research that is out there. Immense amount of validations have happened in the behavioral science space. So this is nothing new. but now it's getting applied. So this is to understand that aspect which is beyond the resumes. This is the beauty that resides within us. These are the gifts that God has given us, but most of the time we don't know about it, and neither do others. So the first aspect of psychometric assessments, why is it important? So, generally when we hear psychometric assessment as layman, we get a little, taken back. Pata nahi kya pata chal jayega isme se. Is everyone okay with Hindi?
Yeah, I think you don't have Linda and Natalie now. So though they're also recording, so maybe we'll have to do translation later as well. But otherwise, they're the only two people who have a reservation with Hindi. But yeah, you can stop over Hindi, and you can then, of course, later on even give the translation.
Great. तो जनरली क्या होता है, साइकोमेट्रिक असेसमेंट से ना हम डर जाते हैं कि पता नहीं इसके अंदर क्या पता चल जाएगा, हमारे पॉजिटिव आ जाएंगे, नेगेटिव आ जाएंगे, वीकनेस एरिया आ जाएंगे, और फिर बोलेंगे अरे भाई इस पे इंप्रूव करो. Now that's a very old mindset, outdated mindset of psychometric assessments. Psychometric assessment is not an English exam. It's not a mathematics exam. अरे कि 100 में से 100 आए ना तभी आप अच्छे हो, right? Psychometric assessment is to find the beauty which is there in us. We all are beautiful. That's what we say. It's like we all are flowers in a garden. None is better than the other. Each one is different. So what is that uniqueness is that we understand through psychometric assessment? What is the things that naturally come to an individual? What is a person who will be naturally good at, right? Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, and 300 BC around, that's what Aristotle said, and we are still struggling with it. We still do not know ourselves. We are still trying to be something which, without knowing that where are we on the map, right? And this is what creates that psyche. यार नहीं हमें तो कुछ और बनना है. So psychometric is not about कुछ और बनना. Psychometric is about leveraging what we are. And when we do this with leaders in the organization, CXOs, heads out there, the top management, and even at the entry level, because we believe leaders are at all levels. It's all about making them aware about themselves so that we know what we are bringing to the table and what someone else is bringing to the table, and how is it different, and how we'll be able to collaborate and synergize with each other. Right? So the whole story is about knowing us, and there could be various ways of knowing yourself. So a yogi will tell you to know yourself in a different way. Go and sit on the mountain, right? There'll be people who will be coming through meditation, to know yourself. There could be 1,001 other ways. This is the way which is objective and is more focused on the work aspect of our life. Okay, and here we are not knowing ourselves like a Buddha or a Mahavir. Right? We are knowing ourselves from the perspective of what we can do naturally and good at. So, like telling a Tendulkar that, is naturally good at cricket, right? So that is its natural talent. So we all have such talents. Some of us are naturally good at detail orientation, some detailed work, accounts and stuff like that. Some of us are naturally good in sales. Some would be naturally good in, coming up with new ideas and opening new ventures. So that's what we are finding out here. Okay, let's see this. Let's run a poll around it. Tasha Eurek is a very famous personality, and I must emphasize, and if you have not already heard her on TED Talk, there are beautiful TED Talks around her. She conducted a 5-year research on more than 5,000 participants. And in her study, she found out that dash percentage of people.
So I did bring up the poll actually.
Yeah, so dash percentage of people, think they are self-aware, right? But in fact, dash percentage were.
Yeah, so you have people now voting on the poll, so they're all putting in their answers. We've given them all the way down from 5% going up to 95%, and you have a very balanced distribution coming in. So people are picking and choosing amongst all. Yeah. So
it is just based on assumption. Nothing. We don't have any studies so far.
Which is study I'm going to share.
Really, you can share. What I'm saying is, this anybody who's answering does not have a clear-cut answer. It is only assumption.
Yes.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
all the answers are in. So let me end the poll and I'll share the result. All right, there you go.
Oh, 95, 11% said, 85, 75, 20%, 15%, 5%. Great. Awesome. And do we have the next part also in poll?
The next
Right,
one is
done
going
it.
to come later. That's going to be another one.
Great, great.
Yeah.
And please give a shout out, and what do you think that the actual percentage, the people what was the actual percentage of people who are self-aware? Any,
That is what we answered. We answered the same thing. What that was the second part.
okay, not the first one.
I think you didn't read the question. I think.
Yeah. So in fact, I said. So I gave.
question-
So the answer was, in fact, the question was about the second part.
Yes, the question was. I answered the second part only. Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So I see all the answers were on the second part.
Mhm.
Right? How many they think? Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So I'll share the statistics with you. 95% of people think that they are self-aware. That's what the study showed, right? But 15% were actually aware of. But actually what we can say is self-aware, right? And this applies to all of us, and that's relates back to the first question that we posed you, that what do you think about yourself? Do you know what your behaviors are? So now you apply it in your work environment and see the implication of it. Right? We all think that we know ourselves. And we live in that world, but we do not realize that we are actually blindfolded. So as managers, we are blindfolded. As people who are working with us, they are also blindfolded. Only 15% of us have their eyes open. And they can see the madness, what is going on around. Right? So see how it affects the performance per person, how the performance of the work is going to get impacted. The relationships, what it means to a relationship, what it means to the conflicts, what it means to the communication that is happening at the workplace. Right? So the miscommunication जो हम कहते हैं यार वो ये नहीं कहते यार वो पता नहीं क्या बोल गया वो कुछ भी बोल जाता है वो ये कर जाता है वो कर जाता है यार उसको तमीज नहीं उस दूसरे से पूछो हाँ यार उसको नहीं बोलना आता so this is all happening through that subconscious space. अब मजे की बात ये देखिए हमें खुद ही नहीं पता हम क्या हैं दूसरे को क्या समझेंगे. What is that we are going to understand? So as manager, we are supposed to say, oh, nahi, and as some of you may be owners out here, so you think, I understand these guys perfectly well, right? Now you see how much of that is a delusionary. And add to it when you interview people. Then you think in 1 hour we have got it. This is the guy who should be out here with us. Perform karega ye banda. Right? And you see what is happening. Why we face the issues that we face, right? And this is very interesting because I have actually lived it in a way that when I was not exposed to psychometric assessment, I thought I'm a fairly extroverted person. I like meeting people. I love traveling. And I have been into business development, so I did my industrial engineering, then I did my MBA and in marketing. And I have been 13 to 14 years, I was doing a business development and pretty successfully, right? But having said that, having good success, there was always this vacuum at one end of it, which always used to, bother me that, there's something wrong, But I thought, okay, सबकी life में होते सब ऐसे ही होते, right? जब psychometric हुआ मेरा 2009 में and something that I came across this 2009 or 2010, then I realized that I am actually a introverted person. I'm actually a reserved person. And believe me, I'm not only reserved, I am very reserved. So that's the intensity of my reservedness, right? So that means I like working alone. I do not gain energy, by interacting with people, so this medium is great for me, where I don't have to interact with people, but I cannot, I do not, that does not energize me, right? So, and think of the kind of work I was doing, so I was doing business development. Now, I was successful in business development, though one of the criteria of business development is that you have to really love people, right? You have to gain that energy from them. That's how business development guys are, right? They get in the morning and they get charged by evening, and they're ready for the drinks at 11 at night. Right? That's how the sales work. And my energies used to dip by 5, but still I was successful. So when I look back, then I realized that by grace of God, I have been doing business development, which was very technically oriented, which required deep knowledge of technicalities of the things. And that was what I was good at. I was very analytical. I was very detail oriented. So that's what actually helped me in the whole process. Have I been in an FMCG kind of a setup, then it would not have served me. Right? Then I realized that why I used to go into conferences and I used to stand in the corner, and the thing that I used to hate was giving my card, right? And then also I ended up giving 100 or 120 cards, whatever I had put in my pocket, and of no consequence.
Yeah.
Right?
Now we know why Eva's in BNI and not you.
Exactly. I said this is something that I cannot do, and I've realized after, and especially after knowing this, I cannot do it. So I that was the life that I was having. And when I did this, and I was in that 95% of people that I thought self-aware, because I do a lot of reading, a lot of meditation, stuff like that, introspection, nothing helped. So when I got this, then I realized, oh my God, this is where the vacuum was coming from. This is why I ended up putting 200% of effort, right? So this is very, very important out here. Now, with this knowledge, it's not that I'll stop doing sales. It's that I was able to leverage whatever I have to do and meet the same ends. So networking, I would not do as an extroverted person. So typically a sales guy, how would they go about networking? Anyone?
It also depends on what kind of salesperson really. I mean, there is one set which is, so if let's say we take it on a disc profile, for example, right? If you have someone who is, a high D or a high I, they would be out there, they'd be aggressive and they'd be, like going all out. While if you have a S or a C, I mean, I think they might be a little more reserved, slightly more data driven. And so I think different people might go in a different way, perhaps.
Different ways, perhaps. But typical FMCG sales guy, right? Let's say white goods.
Very outgoing, right? So,
Let's have drinks. They are just gung ho about, they'll get into a party and suddenly half of the party would know them. A guy like me will get into a party and not even a single soul will get to know that when I stepped out of it, right? So I'll have to get some pics clicked to give a proof that, okay, I was in there. Right? So this is what the difference is, but that doesn't mean that I cannot network. I have a different style of network which I was not using when I was not aware. But when I got aware, I started using that networking skill. So I know I will be better on LinkedIn on networking. I know I can do I cannot talk to 100 people, but I can talk to 2 people, but deep discussion, technical discussions that what I can have, relevant discussions, right? So then I stopped wasting cards. So I know I don't have to go and throw my visiting cards to everyone, 100 people. Now I don't even carry my visiting card anymore. So this is what about the leveraging it. This is about understanding. So whenever you will go through such a cycle and people who have already gone through, see what your strengths are and how do you leverage it to meet the same end. That is the difference that it's going to create in your life, right? So does that connect with everyone? I know, is it making sense?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So let's do a quick activity out here. Do you guys have pen and paper around you?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I would like you to write your name.
First name, full name, or does it
Full
matter?
name, full name, full name.
Okay.
Done?
Yeah.
Everyone done?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Now I'll request you to write your name with your other hand. Let's see the smiling face of Gaurav.
Yeah, I'm ambidextrous, so I'm actually good at this. I'm
Good.
just kidding. My handwriting is so pathetic both ways that you won't be able to do it.
I'm with you on that then. Just give me a shout out if when everyone is done. Anubhav, Arvind,
Done.
Rakesh, Shivam,
Yeah,
Pooja.
please keep that done, and yes is coming in the chat box as well. So.
Okay, great, awesome. So my question to you is, and please let me know, where was the output better?
Naturally, with the hand which we use normally.
Which you use normally, okay. And where did you spend more time and more effort?
On the other hand,
On the other hand. So now we have a scenario that we didn't spend enough time and effort, but the output was great. And then we have another scenario where we spent more time, more effort, and most of the cases, if you're like me, that the other hand did not, produce a legible stuff, right?
Agreed.
Now I want you to draw this analogy back to your work. Can someone tell me how this relates with what's happening at the work with you or someone else?
so I'm sorry. My name is Arvind, and I am not able to understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Because I write with right hand because I practiced writing it. Probably there is some theory about which brain size works more or something like that. That if your left hand brain is working, then you write with your right hand or something like that. There's some theory around it. I'm not a medical guy, but I've been practicing writing from my right hand for last 50 years. That's why I write it quickly.
Yes.
So there was a time when I was in school that I was started writing from left hand because of just to prove. And within few months of practice, I was able to write probably 70% of the speed and 70% of the clarity of my right hand. So I think probably I'm relating to more with the practice. So I'm not really unable to understand your question. I'm sorry.
Okay, great. That's also a great observation, Arvind. And thanks for sharing it. Right. So the idea behind this activity, simple activity, right? We are writing with the left hand. Some of you may be ambidextrous, actually ambidextrous, and sometimes I see, in fact, with the other hand, they'll produce even better quality, right? So point here is that our right hand is symbolic of what is coming naturally to us. Could be left hands for the left-handers, what is coming naturally to us. As you said, there are some kids who naturally start with the left hand, they're left-handers, right? They're right-handers, right? And then you kept practicing it and it becoming better and better, right? So right hand, let's say for the, sake of discussion, is representing what is coming naturally to us. So if we are comfortable in doing something, if you have practiced, let's say in your case, enough number of times, there's something which has happened and now you don't have to think while writing with it. You don't have to put an effort, the kind of effort that will go with your other hand. Your other hand is symbolic of things that we are trying to do, which are not coming naturally to us. So let's say for some, it naturally comes to write with the left hand. Right now, because it's coming naturally to you and you can write in left hand, so I'll also start writing in my left hand. You have been successful to a great extent. Others may not be. For me, it's nearly impossible to do that. So how we relate it back to the work is this: that when we make people do things that are coming naturally to them, then their efficiency would be, productivity would be much, much higher. They would not be spending 13 or 16 hours at the office to get the same output, right? They may be able to do it in 7 hours, 6 hours. So again, coming back to the sales example, there are some guys who will achieve the sales quota, right, in half the time or 3/4 the time, whereas others will be struggling with it. There will be guys who will be surpassing the sales quota every year, while others are never able to meet it even when the things are going hunky-dory.
Sure. So would this be the same as strengths and weaknesses? Because some people have certain strengths, and those same people have certain weaknesses, which are things that they perhaps will never be good at. So in a way, is this strengths and weaknesses, or does it actually go beyond that as well?
Yeah. So it's actually what we are good at, right? And the same thing. So these are traits. They become strengths when we are putting them into the right use. So Tendulkar's cricketing sporting ability is a strength when he's playing cricket. They'll become weaknesses maybe when we put him in a football arena, right? So it's if someone has a sales skills and we make them do the accounting work, then it has become a weakness. It becomes weakness. The same traits become weakness. The same traits become strengths. A guy who's great in research work, right? And then we push him into doing sales, managing people. That's generally what happens in companies. Oh, you have done great work. Oh, you do amazing analysis. You do amazing research work. We are promoting you. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Now you are manager. There'll be 10 people reporting to you. And suddenly this guy who was great in research now is managing people. So it becomes...
And it doesn't work out well for them a lot. And because I remember one of my clients, Agility, so they took some of their best people and they promoted them to managers. And he says everything just collapsed. He says managers, it was a nightmare. While they were, just working in their roles, they were doing great.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is what happens in real life, and we see it day in, day out happening with the companies out there. And that's why it's very important that we understand. Now, how do you know? You cannot know what is happening in terms of what is the right hand. To understand what is the right hand of a person, so Gaurav's right hand is going to be different from my right hand, is going to be different from Eva's right hand, and Payal has a altogether different right hand. What is that? We get to know through psychometric assessments, because we are now talking about the right hand which exists in a subconscious mind. We are not talking about the conscious mind up here. Right?
So Arvind, to add on to the point that you have mentioned and the question that you have raised, that in childhood you try using your another hand. So the another thing that, I want to put in here is, we do these psychometric assessments after our formative years. That is the main reason. Because whatever you want to try and whatever you want to, adapt in your childhood, we are not bothered about that. But once you are an adult and once you have crossed your formative years, that is basically time when we are capturing your behaviors or your strengths and weaknesses through psychometrics, not before that. Because now if I would say that you are a right-handed and you are, developing the skill to write with a left hand, it is almost impossible. So that's one of, an add-on answer to your question, that during your childhood, you can try on different things. But once these formative years are completed, whatever you have is a hardwired thing. And that is the reason we capture any psychometric is applied after, 17, 18 years. Because then there is a negligible scope to change. Almost, 0%.
Okay.
जनरली जब लीडरशिप वर्कशॉप्स होती हैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में, तो मैं जनरली मैनेजमेंट को ये कहता हूँ, देखो बरगद के पेड़ को अब ज्यादा आप इधर उधर नहीं कर सकते हो. जो लोग 40-50 साल के हो गए हैं अब,
रियलाइजेशन तो बड़े लेट से आती है कई लोगों को. कई बार तो 40 साल के 50 साल में जाके रियलाइजेशन आती है. So you cannot say that person cannot change. I mean, I'm somehow not able to digest this idea that a person
I also
cannot...
fully disagree with you, Vinay.
Yes.
Fully disagree with you.
No, you have the right.
There are examples. There are a lot of examples. But one of the most widely circulated WhatsApp example is KFC. This guy started business in 67 years of age.
Yes.
Lightning struck him at 65 years of age. कि मेरे को किधर क्या करने का है.
Yes. Now you have to go deeper than that, right? It's I have examples where people have been doing accounting for the whole life and then they became musicians. Someone became a painter.
So that doesn't mean that they have changed at the age of 50, but you have to see the other ways around, that maybe they realize their natural, interest, their core interests and strengths at the age of maybe 40 or 50. And that is why they're able to take a plunge into those new things which they have never done. So we have seen the example of, so many people who have, changed their career entirely, right? Basis, their strengths and their core interest. Because in India and maybe outside India as well, we do things as the life flows. Engineering का trend चल रहा है, सब engineering कर रहे हैं. That doesn't mean if they are quitting engineering at the age of 40 years, they are changing themselves. But maybe they're realizing their true strengths, their true potential. and thus leveraging that. So person starting KFC at the age of 67, maybe it's a venturer mind. And this venturer thing is basically getting pent up inside, and one day it is like, like a volcano. So obviously these are the deeper aspects of the science. And this is about, any behavioral science which says that people don't change, they adapt. So basically adaptation, it's like a spring. आप spring, कोई उस spring को 2 साल के लिए fit कर लेगा, कोई 20 साल के लिए fit कर लेगा. लेकिन spring को जब भी आप बाहर निकालते हो, the shape will not change. The spring will resume the shape itself back to the original one. So this is about human behaviors. So if you will read more about this science, this is actually what happens.
Interesting.
And that is the reason the mid-career crisis is, at its peak in India at this point of time. You are seeing people taking 180-degree, career shifts. So they are not changing, but they are realizing, because of the help of so many other tools, science, psychologists, counselors, coaches, that what are that true potential they are having.
And we can say this with a lot of authority because both me and Eva has gone through this transitions, and we have not changed, but we are reverted back to what we originally are and discovered it, right? So it's a beautiful experience, to have, and can't be put in words actually. Okay, should I move ahead?
Please.
Okay. So, awareness has two components. One is that I'm understanding about myself, and as you people working in your organizations and corporates, or, in your teams, that's one aspect that I have now understood. Okay, Vinay, I'm an introvert, and, I'm very detail oriented person, and, I have high suitability. But what does it mean for others? What is the impact my personality is going to have on others? Now, यहाँ पे एक बहुत बड़ा conflict आता है कई बार, क्योंकि आपने कई बार देखा होगा कि ऐसा होता है कि हम बोलते हैं यार मैं तो सबके साथ एक ही तरह का behave करता हूँ, उनको तो कुछ नहीं लगता गंदा, उसको बहुत गंदा लगता है, right? We have the same way of interacting with people. We say that we have the same style of management. Why only these two guys have a problem with it, right? So point here is there's another aspect of self-awareness, that how my behaviors is impacting someone else. Now, how is it impacting someone else? Let's say in this example, let's say Vandita is here or Gaurav is here, because I know their profile. So I can say the same thing can impact them in very different ways, right? The impact the same stimulus is going to have could be very different for two different people. To give you an example, let's say, just think of your favorite actor or actress. All right. Now, all of you would have very different actor actresses in mind. Now, those guys are not performing very differently for an individual, right? It's the same stimulus, but how we react to the stimulus is different. Some of us would like X actress, some of us would like Y actress, some of us would like, great, A, B, C actor. So this is how we are getting. So we need to understand that how someone else in our organization, in our team is going to get impacted and respond to the same way of we behaving with them, right? So that's another aspect. And this is also very well captured in, I think it's Marshall Goldsmith's book, What Got You Here Won't Take You There, right? This is exactly what he points in a lot of his stories, that I remember one instance where he mentions there's a board meeting and there's this MD of a company, and when he interacted with the MD of the company, I love, getting the responses of the people, I just give suggestions and allow them to make the decisions, right? But how was it landing with the team was that the boss has said this, so we have to do this. They were not taking it as suggestions, but he was not aware that how this is behavior of being loud and outspoken is landing with the team. And he had an issue that the guys just don't come up with their own stuff, right? So this is what we need to understand. This is also we get to understand, when we do an assessment. So do you believe, let's have this quick poll, that people are your very important asset?
And I'll go one step further. So what's in between the two?
Please, Pooja.
I'll go one step further. What's in between the 2 years is the greatest asset of a company.
And that constitutes people.
Of course.
Okay, awesome. I think we have pretty much everyone's answers in. I'm going to now just close the poll, publish the result. There you go.
Wow. So we don't have a dispute out here. Okay. Okay, so people are very important assets. But not me, Jim Collins actually disagrees with it. All right, so let's see why. He says people are not your most important asset. It's the right people.
The trained people, right? I mean,
Training is a different aspect. It's for making people right, right? So the right people are. So how do we understand? It's extremely important to understand that who the right people are. There are a lot of people in your companies, I'm sure in your teams, who you know are liabilities. They're better off not on the team. There are a set of people who, when they're in the team, they'll actually make a lot of other people also go bad. Right? So what is that right? By right here, we don't mean good and bad. We don't know, this is a good guy. This is a criminal. This is a culprit. This guy has a political mindset. No, we are saying that who is suited for the job. Who is the right guy. We are not saying who's saint and who's criminal. Okay. So the whole process as a management is to understand the right people and invest in them and train them, to Pooja's point. If you're going to train the right guys, it's going to give you an exponential benefit. Having the right guys and not training them is also bad. Then you have the diamonds, but you're not polishing it. Right?
so I'll share some. Can I share something?
Please.
So we were very I mean, ours is a third generation, a third generation company. So what we realized now during the COVID is that, I mean, this is what my dad said, who's the second generation, that we've seriously gone very overstaffed. So he's like, I don't recognize half the people who are working for us. And now the COVID resulted in, I think one person is doing equivalent to at least minimum of, like a 5% amount of work. And we've cut back on salaries. So, I mean, in terms of productivity, we've really gone up. Also because we had to cut expenses, but, because my point being that, acha, ye bhi ek aur assistant chahiye on team abhi so there's no end to that. But then when you get them to perform properly, sky's the limit.
Sky is the limit. Yes, sky is the limit. And every person has a limit of the performance. All right. It's not that if the training only would have, or when we say the pressure, that now what I hear, Pooja, from you is the pressure, right? The pressure of the external environment, the pressure of, performing, that is making people perform. But still, everyone won't be at the same level, right? The Indian cricket team, everyone gets the same coaching. Everyone is getting the same facilities, same equipments, but they still have different performances. There are still people who would be good in batting. There would be still people who would be good in bowling, right? There will be still people who are different levels of fielding, right? So this is what we need to understand. Not everyone would be a captain out there, right? So idea is that you have to, now, अब इसका मतलब ये भी नहीं है, हम इसको 80-20 प्रिंसिपल कहते हैं कि भाई इसका मतलब ये भी नहीं है कि जो हमें अच्छा नहीं लगता हमें करना ही नहीं. So for example, if I don't like accounting, it's not that I'm not going to do finance.
Vinay, we lost you. Can you please repeat your last sentence what you spoke?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So point is, let's have 80-20 principle.
Again, we lost you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's now. Yeah, now it's audible. Now it's audible.
Eva, we can hear him. I think Eva, it's your network.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe. Then go ahead, please.
Okay. So, it's about 80-20 rule. See, all this is all this is just take it, do not get very serious around psychometric assessment, stuff like that. It's fun. It's also lighthearted. It's giving us deep insights. It's not telling anyone's weakness, like Gaurav, you pointed out, it's not telling anyone's weakness. It's telling what we are good at. So once we know what we are good at, let's say I know Gaurav is good in research, then, or Gaurav knows that let me work in Gaurav's team, and Gaurav knows Vinay isn't good in research. So now Gaurav can put 80% of work aligned with research for me, rather than pushing me to spend 80% of time doing sales or sales call. During my entire sales career, one thing that I hated was making sales call. First level sales call, I could never make it, and I thought, I don't know what's wrong with me. Everyone is able to do it so beautifully, and I'm not able to do it ever, during the initial years of my tenure. But that's what is not my 80%. If that's what I'm going to do 80% of the time, I'll be drained. But if I am doing that 20% of the time, 10% of the time, then it makes sense. Then I can handle it. Eva, you want to add anything on this?
No, please carry on.
Okay. So अभी क्या होता है, एक हमारा एक वो रहता है कि attitude क्या रहता है, especially in SME sector, I have seen with the clients that we are working with, अरे यार कोई भी ले आओ, काम तो करा लेंगे. हाँ, डिग्री है ना, 2 हाथ 2 पाँव है ना, ले आओ, सब करेंगे. Right? That is what creates a problem. Then we are just getting people, we do not realize that we are not putting people in mill work. We are not putting on assembly lines where, someone has to robotically do something, right? We are getting them to do specialized work, and in today's environment, it's not a cookie cutter stuff out here. Even for cookie cutter, you need people who can be great at cookie cutter, right? So when we do this, have this attitude, कि अरे जो भी ले आओ यार, लेकर आओ किसी को जिसको भी टैली आता हो, उससे क्या होता है, we get the rotten apple at times, and that rotten apple spoils a lot of other apples in the basket, if not everyone, right? Especially when you get a misfit. Now, rotten apple, I'm not saying that that guy is bad in any manner. I'm just saying it's from the perspective not fitting for the job. And especially when you get at a managerial level, and you would have seen in your careers, again, this is no rocket science, this is all common sense. And you look back into your life. Careers में भी आप देखेंगे, जब एक manager, if that manager is not fitting in his role, it leads to so much of attrition in the company. It leads to so much of lowering down of productivity in the company, because the whole team goes through a very tough phase, right? So depending upon the hierarchy where you're bringing people in, if they're not right fit, it costs the company. In fact, studies have shown in terms of attrition, and you should do this calculation for yourself, and it's cost anywhere between 30% to 500% of the annual cost of that person, of the annual cost to the company of that person, that means 30% to 5 times of that annual cost of that person to the company when he leaves. Because when he leaves, it's not a spontaneous action. It would have gone on his mind for the last 6 months, loss of productivity, what happens, the loss of business, the opportunity lost, then suddenly you are without someone, then you are trying to get someone. If you figure all this out, in fact, we have built a calculator to help you do that for your own organization. And I'll be happy to, help you out with that. You can figure out that what is the cost. तो आप सोचते हैं 5 लाख का बंदा चला गया तो क्या हो गया, लेकिन 5 लाख के पीछे आपके मिनिमम 2-2.5 लाख रुपए का नुकसान हो गया जो आपको दिख भी नहीं रहा. So that is what is very important out here.
So to add on to this, Vinay, to the 80-20 principle, this is even more important when we are talking about the delegation. We talk about delegation at work, but how many of us think about what needs to be delegated? And this is again, we go as a because everybody is following this approach that this is the owner should take care of all the business development and all the strategic, initiatives and all those things, and rest other things needs to be delegated to other people in the team. But what behavioral science says is delegate the work where you are not absolutely fit into, where you are not 100% good at. So keep those things. So that is your 80%. If you are good at making relationships, If you're good at, creating the processes and structures in the company, keep those parts to you rather than going with a herd mentality that I am the owner of the organization, I have to take care of all these things. And this is where your right people comes into picture. Delegate your work, but to the right people. So if you're delegating the processes, you should have the people who are very good at processes. If you are bringing compliance and structures and policies, you need people. You don't need out-of-the-box thinkers there. If you are delegating the compliance and structures of your company to an out-of-the-box thinker, then obviously your company is at risk, right? So these are the things you need to understand on the 80-20 principle. One, what are the things that I should put my hands into most of the time? I'm not saying leave all other aspects. You have to, so it's like aate mein namak. We always, heard this thing. Aate mein namak jitna sab chalta hai. But it should not be like namak mein aata. Then it will not be easy to, it will not be edible, right, for any of us. So one is to understand yourself and put maximum there. And second is to delegate what parts, where you can get people and, right people, and delegate those parts to those people by selecting them on basis of experience, skill, as well as behavior and personality. Yeah, Vinay, carry on.
Awesome. So let's do one short activity, and I'll just would like you to open up your chat boxes. For another 10 seconds, I'll show you a pic. And you have to tell me what you see out there. Just type in the chat box. All right, you guys are ready? Okay. Start typing in what you see. Has everyone responded?
Yep. So you're getting a lot of old ladies. You're getting Leaf. You're getting
Two
young
women.
girl.
Yeah.
You get.
Okay.
So there is a leaf. Yeah, two women, a girl, a mountain, and Pooja responded, I have seen this one on tarot.
Okay, very nice, very nice. So you see, I wanted to do this small exercise to bring home the point that why do we end up taking wrong guys? We do not have an intent of taking the wrong guys, right? We all do go at great pains to find the right guy for our team, for our company. But then what goes wrong? This is what is going wrong. Now it's the same, non-living picture that every one of us are seeing, but still we have different perceptions around it. Right? Someone is seeing a leaf, someone is seeing a mountain, someone old lady, some romantic people would be seeing young lady in it. So it all depends on where your heart lies, right? So now think of this, that if this picture can confuse all of us to this extent, what about we as people who are one of the most complex organisms on earth what God has made? And we have so many facets that we don't even understand ourselves. Right? So that is what creates a problem. We think we are hiring a young lady, but we end up hiring an old lady. We think we are hiring an old lady, but we end up getting a mountain. Right? And there is no objective way of understanding what we are going for. So we need to bring that data orientation, what we bring in finance. We need to bring in the data orientation, what we bring to sales figures, sales planning, like an awesome planner that Gaurav has come up with. That's all about, again, putting the data in one place. So this is what we need, what we call people data. This, if you have to break this perception, we have to get across the people data. Now, I just give you an example of this, pic, which is causing this confusion and, creating so many perceptions. Now, let's take a human example, right? Now, what we see is behaviors, So what do you see people doing in a coffee shop or a restaurant? So generally people in a coffee shop, in a restaurant, what they would be doing? They would be eating food, right? Having a coffee. That's what they're doing. Correct?
Yeah.
So no one is going to be there and, doing shopping for a apparel or a shoes, right? So a person is going to coffee shops to drink coffee, going to a restaurant to eat something, right? But what does that mean? Because everyone is eating, does that mean the motivating need for each of them coming to a coffee shop is just to have food? Is just to satisfy their hunger? They could be there for multiple reasons, right? They could be there for dating. They could be there for meeting friends. They could be there for whiling away time. They could be there for doing office work, for using the Wi-Fi connection, for using the AC in a hot summer, right? So the motivating need, we are not able to see that. Can I look at this picture and say, yeah, this guy would be for this guy is for this guy is for this? No, we cannot. So this is what happens in an interview. When people come to you, what you see the observable behaviors. You see everyone drinking coffee. You see everyone saying good things. Yes, I want to be in sales. Yes, I want this accounting stuff. I am great in research. I love finance. Finance was the first word that came out of my mouth when I was a kid, right? Now, those are all projected behaviors, but we do not understand that what is the motivating need behind it. So the motivating need to understand that, the interviews, when we are doing for hiring external people, or when we are doing, internal promotions or putting people into different roles, for example, it's very essential to understand that what this guy's real motivating need is. Generally, हम सोचते हैं motivating need का मतलब क्या होता है? पैसा. Everyone is working for money. If everyone would have been working for money, no one would have gone to, let's say, armed forces or police or doing all sort of research work. People work what they love doing. That's what they want to. That's what the intent is. So interviews, जब interviews होते हैं, वो बहुत statistically it has been proven. They are very off the mark. If you again Google out, you'll find interviews की जो efficacy होती है 17 to 25%. Depend, and the unstructured interviews that you do could be just 10% or 8% effective in understanding what the person is, right? It's again like a coffee shop. You'll see everyone good. And another thing, that interesting thing, and Eva and me, we have figured out while doing the assessments, for people, and we have done this, analysis a lot of times, that we have analyzed the profiles of the people who a manager is going to shortlist. And believe, you would be surprised, most of the time, 80 to 90% of the time, the people a manager is going to select, or shortlist, would have a profile very similar to them. So we end up liking subconsciously people who are like us. So that creates, so we end up hiring people that we like. वो pipeline में सारे like वाले ही हैं, तो उनमें से एक चुना जाएगा ना. And this is we have seen happening with MDs of companies also, right? So this is what creates that issue. Now, what would happen is if we do not, and this is exactly what is happening in the companies, and this is, you see this red curve, right? So this is where people end up being. तो मैं वो एक हमारे टाइम से पहले एक विलेन होते थे ना, अजीत. वो कहते थे किसी को भी जब उनको मारना होता था, कहते थे मोना इसे लिक्विड ऑक्सीजन में डाल दो, लिक्विड इसे मरने नहीं देगी, और ऑक्सीजन इसे मरने नहीं देगा, और लिक्विड इसे जीने नहीं देगा. करेक्ट? Have you heard of it? So these are those guys. They're living in liquid oxygen. आप इनको ना निकाल सकते हो क्योंकि काम तो कर रहे हैं, लेकिन आप इनको रखना भी नहीं चाहते क्योंकि बढ़िया काम नहीं कर रहे हैं. So these are all the dissatisfied lot for doing the, you would have a lot of positions for them, but you don't know where to put them. They're just doing the wrong job. And the only difference, the discretionary effort, because we want people on this blue curve, who are maximum product, who come because they love it. वो चाह के भी गंदा काम नहीं कर सकते, और इन लोगों का आपको पता चल जाता है. एक बार अपनी घड़ी ठीक कराने गया था, उसमें सेल डलवाना था. There was a guy in Bombay, who opened this up to put up a menial job of putting up a cell, but इतनी तन्मयता से कर रहा था कि मुझे पता लग रहा था कि उस काम को इतना एंजॉय कर रहा है कि उसे लग रहा है इसके अलावा दुनिया में और कोई काम ही नहीं है. So those are the people who work on that curve, and it's very easy. Again, no rocket science. A lot of us would be on that want to curve. If we are running our own business, let's say, or if we are successful in our life. This is what you get through psychometric assessment. That's linking back to our topic, that why do we need psychometric assessment? In order to improve the productivity, in order to bring that happiness, in order to bring that harmony in our company, in our organization, where things start flowing. Everyone is working with their right hands, and we are not forcing them to work through their left hands. We are aligning the work with the natural stuff so that the magic starts happening on its own, where you don't have to go as a team leader and start motivating them. Karo yaar, karo yaar, karo yaar. You know, but things are happening on its own. So this is, more or less from our side what we have. I love this quote, and I always share it with everyone. It's by Einstein. It says, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." And this, we can remodify it for a corporate. If we are going to, use a fish to climb a tree, we are not going to get the productivity. This is about finding the right people. Right? So this is all from my end. Eva, would you like to add anything to it?
No, nothing, Vinay.
And this is what we help companies with. Very small thing, commonsensical, yes,
Thank you.
counterintuitive.